Hello, star people. It's Christopher, the AstroMedium, and your host, intuitive astrologer for the cosmic forecast and energy update for the week of May 9th through May 15th. We, of course, are going to take a look at these energies day by day, and then later in the video, we're going to take an in-depth look into some of these larger energy signatures at play and a very important planetary and energetic shift that's happening this week. So stay tuned. Mercury and Mars are the stars of this week. They are really active and they're really highlighting a lot of themes for us around how we get what we want, the way we're perceiving our reality, how we view our experience from different vantage points, and where we are giving our energy to and what we're focused on. Saturn and the Sun are their co-stars this week, so we're getting a little support from Saturn, and of course the Sun is going to illuminate some of these major themes for us. And the Moon, of course, is an activator. If you follow my videos, you'll notice that the Moon activates a lot of these larger energy signatures, but the Sun is even activating a very important energy signature at the end of the week that we are going to highlight. Now, Chiron is also in the mix, so there's some healing coming for you this week. There's healing to the body, there's healing to the ego, healing of the mind, and of course Jupiter is one of the stars, as Jupiter leaves behind the rebellious, revolutionary world of Aquarius and enters the mystical, dreamy, and spiritual world of Pisces. As you move through this week, you're going to notice some themes popping up for you, but also kind of a roller coaster effect. It may feel as if you're up and then you're down, you're resisting change, you're wanting change. There's so many different energies coming at you at once. We've, of course, dealt with a lot of this in the past few weeks anyway, but this week is very unique in that it is activating a larger energy signature. That would be the Saturn-Uranus square, and it is activating some bigger themes for us that are involved with soul growth and staying on our path. So, without further ado, let's start with Sunday, May 9th. The Moon is receiving a lot of support from the other planets and asteroids that day as she makes a conjunction to Ceres and a sextile to Jupiter, which is going to activate the Jupiter sextile Ceres energy that is occurring and we're still sitting in right now. The Moon is also going to make a trine to Juno, which is going to activate that Lilith quincunx Juno energy, which we've experienced in the previous week. So we're getting a lot of support. It's activating these larger positive energy signatures. However, the Moon is going to make a square to Pluto that day. So as she squares off with the Lord of the Underworld, you may have a lot of intense emotional reactions to things, taking it to the extremes, going too deep, looking too deeply into things, and taking things the wrong way. Be mindful of that. Overall, it should be a very positive day. The Moon will enter Taurus at 7:46 Eastern time, so be mindful of that as the energy will shift in that day. So we're going to be sitting in a lot of Aries energy, a lot of passion that day, a lot of energy to put out, and with Pluto in the mix, we want to be even more careful how much we're forcing or trying to control situations in our life that day. But generally speaking, as the Moon moves into Taurus, this should be a really lazy Sunday, fun day. No stress, no major energy signatures going 0 degrees. However, we are building up to some huge energies this week, and so these energies are already going to start building and you're already going to feel it on Sunday. Now let's move to Monday, May 10th. The Moon is going to start the day by making a sextile to Mars, which is the ruler of Aries, so we again get some more energy, some more passion going. The Moon is then going to form a conjunction to Uranus and a square to Saturn. That is specifically going to activate the Saturn-Uranus square, which is occurring and is the largest energy signature of 2021. This will generally be a day where you're pushing your energy out, you're wanting to get things done, you have more energy to get these things done and these tasks accomplished. However, there's a lot more on your plate than you're able to handle sometimes. This may be a day where you feel stressed to the point that you want to break free of something. You're wanting to make some major decisions in your life. This Saturn-Uranus energy that's happening, which, like I said, is the main theme of 2021, it's calling you to create and make new, shocking, even unique decisions with your life, but there are delays. There are instances, people, experiences that are holding you back, restricting your progress. This is to help you in the long term. So be mindful that that frustration may build that day. The moon will also make a trine to Vesta. So that's going to be, of course, Vesta and Mars energy are very similar in that they are where we put our energy into. And that is one of the themes this week. Where are you giving your energy and what are you giving it to? Are you freely giving it away? Or are you giving it away with a purpose? And are you receiving that energy back? Vesta is all about those energies that have a cause. There's a purpose to it. Mars is your primal instincts, putting your energy, how you take action on anything, but Vesta is how much of that energy goes into something you really care about and that you're devoted to. This is also a day where we will be healing the mind as Mercury makes a sextile to Chiron, and I'm going to talk more about that energy later in the video. Now let's move to Tuesday, May 11th. On this day, the moon is going to have 3 conversations with points and planets that are very important and highly activating. This is a day where there's so much energy packed into one time. You may feel overstimulated, fried, and good thing the moon is going to be in Taurus, so you can take some time off and enjoy the process. Be a little lazy and let it all happen around you a little bit. Now, the moon is going to make a quincunx to Juno. That is activating something. The moon is going to make a conjunction to Black Moon Lilith. This is activating something. And the moon is also going to make a sextile to Neptune. Love that. That's some dreamy energy, some increase in psychic abilities. This is activating something this day. This is also the day that we will experience the new moon in Taurus energy. So at exactly 3 p.m. Eastern time on May 11th, the sun and the moon will form an exact conjunction in the sign of Taurus. There are so many energies wrapped up into this one moon phase. It is a lot to handle. The sun will be forming a quincunx to Juno, which is being activated by the moon that day. The sun will be forming a sextile, a supportive 60-degree angle to Neptune, which is being activated by the moon that day. Mars is very active around this moon as he is making a supportive 60-degree angle sextile to Uranus and forming a very tense and conflicting square, a 90-degree angle to Chiron. And if that wasn't enough, Mercury is going to form a conjunction to the North Node, illuminating your path and your purpose. We're going to talk more about these major energy signatures later on in the video. Now let's move to May 12th. On Wednesday, the moon will enter Gemini at 8:43 a.m. Eastern time, and as she travels throughout the day, she's going to have some dynamic conversations with some major planets. She's first going to start with Pluto. She's going to form a 120-degree angle trine to Pluto, which is empowerment, fearlessness. She's then going to make a 90-degree angle tense square to Jupiter. That's cockiness, overdoing it, overly confident about things, aiming too high. She's also going to form a conjunction to Venus, so both benefic planets are involved that day. However, I will say they will not be able to drown out that Pluto energy. Pluto is a malefic, but even the moon is bringing out some positive energy from the most malefic planet. Malefic meaning evil. No, I'm just fucking with you. On this day, Mercury, which is very active this week, is going to form a beautiful trine to Saturn, another malefic planet. These malefic planets are not evil. They do not want to hurt you, but they will if you don't get your shit together, okay? Pluto rips away what's no longer necessary for you and lets it die right in front of your eyes, merciless. Saturn can be similar. Saturn knocks on your door at 4 in the morning, wakes you up, makes you make your bed, and gets you ready for a 3-hour run. He's like a drill sergeant. He's the great disciplinarian. He wants you to focus. So we're going to talk more about Mercury's trine to Saturn later in the video, but we're starting to get more focused, more realistic, and our decisions are more logical this week, thank God. Now let's move to Thursday, May 13th. Now, right out the gate, the moon is going to stimulate and activate that trine between Mercury and Saturn as she forms a trine to Saturn herself and a conjunction to Mercury. So earlier in the day, we're going to feel more activated by this. We're going to be feeling more logical, more stable, more grounded in the way we're perceiving things, and we have a lot more mental resilience. Now, the moon is also going to form a 60-degree angle sextile to Chiron. Sextiles are beautiful, they're positive, they're not as powerful as a trine in my opinion. They're opportunities, they're for potentials. There is potential for emotional healing that day. There may be some triggers that come up for you, but it is to get it to come up into your awareness to make you feel like something so that you keep saying, I don't want to feel like this anymore, which truly is a gift. Now, the moon is also going to make a square to Pallas, which which is our pattern recognition queen. So just be mindful that day with that square. There may be some confusion and you're not able to see things as clearly, which is similar to Neptune energy. And speaking of Neptune, Neptune steals the show today, and I love Neptune. He's one of my favorite energies. He is the ruler of Pisces, which is my favorite sign, and I love Neptune's ability to dissolve boundaries, take us to higher states of consciousness, unify things, and move us into the astral plane. However, Neptune does have a shadow side, as he can veil and cast illusions over things. Kind of like a fog that rolls in. You still see the light of the sun, you still see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's very foggy, very unclear, and you really can't make a lot of movement, and there's a sense of confusion and being lost. Now, the sun is involved in these conversations as well, and the sun brings things up into our consciousness so that the ego can embody it, so that we can understand that we are that. We can take these energies on, and we are consciously aware of that. The sun shines a light on it and illuminates those themes for us. So the sun is activating Neptune that day, as he receives a supportive sextile from Neptune as well. Now, the sun is also forming a conjunction to Lilith. This is some intense energy coming up, as Black Moon Lilith is. She's a bad bitch. This is witchy energy, definitely danger, rebellion, independence. All of these themes are Lilith territory. Lilith is kind of like a mixture between Uranus, Mars, and Pluto all together, and she's a divine feminine energy. So finally, some of this feminine energy can get some raw rage and sexuality going, and that's where Lilith comes in. This is a very important day, however, as Neptune. It's one thing for the sun to be doing something. These sun transits last for about 3 or 4 days. Neptune is also making a sextile to Lilith, which is one of the largest energy signatures this year. Kind of like the energy signature we are now dealing with and dealt with last week when Neptune made a square to Juno. These Neptune energies, they last for long periods of times. These transits do not last for a week. They last for months, you feel these energies, because Neptune moves so slowly. So with this day, we're going to go into more of those energy signatures later, but that's going to be a day that is mystical. Very vivid dreams we will be having. And there is something we're moving into spiritually that is more empowering, that is more raw, where we can embody more spirituality in the physical body and even integrate our shadow selves into that process. Now let's move to Friday, May 14th. So this is another moon-ruled day, and this will be somewhat of a confusing day as the moon makes a square to Neptune. So she is activating all of that Neptune activity just the next day. But squares are tense, they're difficult, they're challenging. And when the moon makes a square to Neptune, we can become hypersensitive. We can become overstimulated too easily, and we cannot feel that we're sensing and experiencing our reality the way that it normally is experienced. There is kind of a dreaminess to that energy. You can feel spacey, ungrounded, even lightheaded for those of you who are experiencing a lot of third eye activations and throat activations at this time. Be mindful as we get closer to the end of the week that you may be feeling a little bit out of your body and will need to do some grounding rituals. Now, the moon is going to make a beautiful 120-degree angle trine to Jupiter. That is benevolence, positive energy, higher view of everything, feeling like you got this figured out and that everything's coming to you in divine timing. However, the moon is then going to form a quincunx. Quincunxes are 150 degrees and they are confusing. It's where the two energies are in signs that don't communicate with each other. So when the moon makes a quincunx to Pluto, there is a tendency to feel out of control. So we've got some feeling spacey, ungrounded, feeling out of control, but you do have the opportunity to receive that day and to stay positive if you choose that. Now, thankfully, although the moon will be in Gemini most of the day, which can create even more restlessness and anxiety, the moon is going to enter her domicile, Cancer, at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is going to really shift that energy in, close out these difficult energies, and we're going to be ready for the weekend. So let's go to Saturday, May 15th. This is going to be a Pretty positive day, as the moon is going to be in Cancer the entire day, her ruling sign. So we already have a sense of comfort, security, safety there. The moon, however, is going to form a 60-degree angle sextile to Uranus. That's going to make you want to break free of that comfort zone, get out there and do something new, try something unique and different that you're not used to, and break the monotonous cycle. And that's perfect to do on a Saturday. The moon is also going to sextile Vesta, which makes you a little bit more passionate about doing something with a purpose. Now, as that's all happening, the moon will then come into a 90-degree angle square with Chiron. So Chiron is in Aries, the moon is in Cancer. This is very triggering. You can get triggered even from a trine or a sextile to Chiron. It doesn't mean that it's going to debilitate you. It just means it's going to show you that there are still raw, sensitive, insecure weaknesses in you and on you that still need to be addressed, healed, and transmuted. And so this is giving you an opportunity to heal some of that. So watch the things that come up for you on Saturday and how you're responding to these things, as the moon is how we respond to our environment. Now, there is a very confusing energy that we finish off the week with, which may make you feel like, where did all this come to anyway? Well, Mars and Saturn have had a very interesting relationship within the past year, especially when Saturn was in Capricorn and Mars was in his ruling sign of Aries for 6 months. Mars had several tense conversations with Saturn, and since has had some supportive ones, and now he enters a 150-degree angle quincunx with Saturn. So as Mars and Saturn go to a place where they're not communicating with each other, there's a lot of energies we're going to be expelling out, but not going in direct, logical, long-term paths or directions. It may be a little bit scattered, and of course Mars is still in Cancer right now, which is very detrimental to some of our energies and is making a lot of our progress feel a little bit slow. There's frustration, there's insecurities coming up, so be mindful that that will be heavily activated for you. And whenever Saturn is in the mix, there's insecurities, there's a fear of failure, there's pushing you to limits and higher expectations that you may not have the energy to uphold your end of that bargain with. Now, because of that new moon energy we'll be having this week, there's a lot of, when I say lower energy, more relaxed energy, pulling you more inward, more introspection, rather than going out there and getting shit done and manifesting your experience. This is a time for contemplation, quiet contemplation, going within, experiencing your physical reality with more pleasure, taking in more of it rather than putting out more of your projects, your creativity, your abilities, receiving. So like I said, Mercury is very active this week. He is the fastest moving planet besides the moon. So he is going to activate a lot of these other energies and other planets and points much faster than any of the other planets. And he likes to stir up and create these conversations. He is, after all, the planet of communication and information traveling. And he also rules the daily pace of our day, getting to work, saying hi to your coworkers, all that communication and information that's traveling. Mercury rules that. He also rules mental processing. So this week, as he moves into a supportive sextile with Chiron, Mercury is in Gemini, Chiron is in Aries, and they're forming a 60-degree angle to each other. We have an opportunity to not only look at past wounds and traumas, which may be triggering, but words at this time have more healing capabilities, and we will also have greater understanding and compassion for others as well. Journaling, writing, storytelling, communicating your struggle with the world and with others is going to heal you and heal them at this time. With Mercury in the mix, of course, there's that mental processing aspect of it. So with Chiron in there, there are going to be a lot of things that have come up for you that you're now aware of. You're feeling it. There's different levels to healing. First, there's when it erupts out of the subconscious and the unconscious and you become conscious of it. When you start to feel things and then you start to know things, you start to understand where it's coming from, what time it came from, which parent it came from, all of the different wounds, the situations that traumatized you. You start to understand, oh, that must be when it started or where it came from or what is accentuating this experience. And now with Mercury, you can more easily process analyze, get to the details of that experience where you can actually rewire neural pathways. So be mindful as you move through this week. You have an opportunity, especially because this energy is centered around this new moon in Taurus, you have an opportunity to heal yourself with more understanding at a processing level where those neural pathways and networks get rewired and start their wiring process to begin with. It's all about perception, and sometimes just a gentle shift in your perception. For instance, your trauma, your wound, your weakness, just adjusting your perspective on it to see it as something that you are not currently seeing it as, to see it in a more positive light. Sextiles are potentials. They're opportunities for growth and harmony. They don't automatically activate, so this is something you will have to enact by journaling, by writing, by creating some type of dialogue with another person. And the topics of conversations this week may take on more sensitive topics. You may have to be more empathetic to someone's side. I encourage everyone to listen because we're so ready to tell everybody what's going on with us, what is happening in our healing journey, what kind of shit's coming up for us to deal with. But it's also important that sometimes someone else is going through something that you're also going through, and just knowing that they're going through that and sharing that experience through communication is healing in and of itself. Now, as we move through the week, we're going to get to this new moon in Taurus energy, which has a lot going on. Okay, it may feel just like one experience, but there's so much that may come up for you at that time. As the moon is forming that conjunction to the sun, we have a blending between wanting to feel stable, secure, grounded, comfortable, and also seeing ourselves as hardworking, as dependable, reliable, and conscious about our reality. There is, however, with this energy, some tension, as Uranus is in Taurus as well. So this energy is not specifically being activated by Uranus. They're not within the same degree points or creating a conversation with each other, but Uranus is still there in Taurus, activating those themes for us. However, this new moon experience will be happening at 22 degrees of Taurus. And what makes this special is that Lilith is also at 22 degrees of Taurus right now. So this moon is specifically conjuncting Black Moon Lilith. So Lilith's energy is dark. It's divine feminine, it's witchy, it's raw, it's savage. There's a lot of repressed sexual energy with Lilith energy. There's a lot of rebelliousness, kind of like Uranus. There's a lot of rage, kind of like Mars. And there's a lot of shadow aspects, kind of like Pluto. So she all encompasses this divine feminine archetype. And there's a lot of setting yourself free and being independent and not caring what other people think, and also accepting and integrating that shadow side. Now, we just had the full moon in Scorpio recently, which was all about shadow work. This is not necessarily about shadow work as it is about acceptance. The moon is also going to be forming a slight trine to Pluto during this moon. And so with Pluto in the mix, there's an opportunity to transform. Yet another moon phase back to back that has to do with Pluto and this theme of transformation. So don't you see how we're trying to, the guides, the angels, whatever your team is, don't you see that the planets are trying to move you into the cocoon? With this Taurus energy, it's saying, all right, we've got a bed for you. We've got pillows. We've got food. We got Netflix. Get in here, baby. Come into the cocoon. Wrap yourself up. Get warm. Get comfortable. And get ready for the ride of your life. Especially as we're moving toward the end of the month when we enter eclipse season. And we have the total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which is very eventful, packed full of change. So this is kind of saying, get on the bed. Get ready to turn to goo because you're about to be a butterfly. As I have said before, 2020 was out with the old, but 2021 is in with the new. And these are the energies that we were talking about. Yes, Uranus is the star this year, which is all about those new energies. Now, Mars is very active at the time of this new moon in Taurus. And whenever Mars is in the mix, there's some kind of aggression, some type of physical energy that wants to come out, be processed, or move. The energy wants to move, and Mars is that primal masculine energy that wants to get its needs met, but also wants to get what it wants, whether it's sex, whether it's food, whether it's success. Mars is very ego-driven. So Mars is in Cancer right now, so he's weakened, he's in his detriment, he is in the absolute worst sign that he could be in. But this is a very good energy for us because this is making us kind of play it safe at this time, which there's so many chaotic energies. It's okay to stay in the house and watch from the window right now. Mars doesn't like to do that. He especially doesn't want to be looking out from his bedroom window in his mama's house, and that's what he's doing when he's in Cancer, is he's staying at his mama's. This is going to be even more sensitizing and challenging, as at the time of this new moon in Taurus, Mars is going to be forming a square to Chiron. Now, Chiron is in Aries. And this is interesting because Aries is the ruler of Mars. So we have this interesting conversation happening. What I would say with this is you need to monitor your energy. Like I said earlier, where are you giving your energy? The ego can take a blow with this energy because there's insecurities. There's that insecurities is really where we want to focus here, because so many insecurities can already come up with Mars being in Cancer. However, with Chiron, there's wounds attached to that. And these insecurities have a deeper, more raw place in you. It's more primal, kind of like Mars energy. There's a primal wound that you have as well. But these insecurities can start pushing you into action. You start to do things because you feel like you need to overcompensate for something. You're not actually moving towards your goals and putting your energy into your projects because you're necessarily passionate or inspired. But at this time, with Mars in the mix, the more you push with these squares, the more life will push back on you. The more you try to force something into being, the more triggering it will be to you. The more you try to force the situation, the more the situation starts to call back on your primal wound and make you feel even more inferior. This isn't necessary. However, if this does happen to you, take it as a clue of what needs to be healed next, or exactly where to go next in your healing journey. That's the gift of it. Anytime Chiron is in the mix, there is a gift. Now, at the same time as this conversation between Mars and Chiron, Mars will be forming a 60-degree angle sextile to Uranus. This is amazing energy. I remember a couple months ago when Mars made a conjunction to Uranus, and it definitely electrically filled me up with desire. Also a lot of frustration to make a lot of changes to my life, which I am now making. It's interesting that it didn't happen then, but the fire was lit then, and the electrical impulse struck at that time, which has now led to later decisions being made, which is definitely a theme when Saturn makes a square to Uranus. Electrical impulse fills you up, you know you need to make the change. Delays, insecurities, wanting to play it safe or doing it the right way will come along and delay that progress, and so you may make more long-term, more logical decisions later. And with this Mars-Uranus sextile, this is a beautiful opportunity for you to act on these impulses now. Now we're getting to a point in the year where it's starting to not necessarily be safe to make these changes, necessary for your well-being, because you're starting to feel more frustration, more anger build up. And if you're not going in the direction of the soul, but also the direction of the impulses, which are primally moving you towards something, especially with this Mars energy, you're going to feel it as that temper rising, that heat rising in the body. You've got to do something with that energy. You've got fire from Mars and electricity from Uranus coming together. It's a sextile, so it may not be automatically activated for everyone. However, this is an energy that is inflaming your desires and filling you, like I said, with electrical impulses that need to be followed. This is also an energy that can spice up a relationship, can bring in some more kinky energies to the bedroom, and reawaken a situationship and bring things out of a rut or these hamster wheels and these loops that we get on within our partnerships and even our projects and wherever you're putting your energy. If you're running a loop and it's not filling you up with that passion and you're not being driven towards it anymore, Uranus will come back and strike it. That tree branch will split in two. You will be forced to awaken to the realization of something new being possible for you, and then you'll have no choice but to move in that direction. Also, at the time of this new moon, the sun will be making a very confusing quincunx to Juno. So already we've had some conversations with Juno last week. Lilith is still in her quincunx with Juno. So while the sun makes a conjunction to Lilith this week, he also makes a quincunx to Juno, which is going to bring up more themes about our long-term partnerships and relationships, confusing you, disjointing you, creating space between you and your partner even more, and making it more aware and conscious for the both of you, because these themes need to be worked out. And as we continue to move through the week, especially around this new moon, Mercury is very active, and Mercury will be forming a conjunction to Rahu, or the North Node, on the same day as the new moon. So let's break it down here. We have the new moon in Taurus. The sun is making a quincunx to Juno. Mercury is making a conjunction to the North Node. Mars is making a sextile to Uranus, and Mars is making a square to Chiron. That's a lot of shit going on. You may, like I said, just want to lie down and take the beating at this point. And speaking of a beating, let's talk about Saturn. So Mercury will be moving into a very supportive conversation with Saturn at the same time as he is making a conjunction to Rahu, or the North Node. Now, when Mercury infuses his energy with the North Node, we are very focused on our path. We have more ideas, more inspiration coming in, conversations that we're having with people throughout our day, and information that's coming to us, text messages, links that pop up on the internet. They're all pulling you in a very specific direction. The North Node is kind of like a thread that's pulling you to a higher purpose, your mission, your path from a soul experience. The South Node can be looked at past life experiences, but from a psychological perspective and a subconscious perspective, as the nodes relate to the moon. You can look at it as energies, behaviors, and tendencies that you cling to from the past out of comfort or out of sameness. And then the North Node is the energies that you're becoming, although the sun is actually energies that you're becoming, but from a soul perspective, why you're here, and the energies and the psychological processes that you're enveloping yourself within and developing into. Now, with this process, we'll be thinking a lot about our future, but we'll be thinking a lot about our path. Why are we here? What's our purpose? How can we fulfill it? At the same time as we start to get really grounded and logical about how we're going about this entire process. With Saturn in the mix, there's going to be definitely hard work and discipline. So that's one of the major themes of Saturn, but there's also some karmic effects as well, cause and reaction. These things are starting to make more sense for us at this time. If I put in the work, I'll get the reward. It doesn't always happen that way, but when there's a trine to Saturn, it's more likely to happen that way, especially if you actually do the work. Now, this energy signature supports mental focus, resilience, and fortitude. This is not a transit that you want to have enjoyable conversations within necessarily, although they can be very enlightening and they can be inspiring when Saturn is in the mix. Especially, you can inspire someone else and they can look up to you in a specific way. Your words have a lot more authority. At this time, you'll understand long-term timelines and concepts more. And you have more patience and more mental resilience to put your mental focus on bills, duties, obligations, chores, things that you normally would find boring or that you can't seem to get done. You have more ability to do that at this time. And this is very much needed, because with all this chaotic energy, we need a little support from Saturn to make it real for us. All these swirling energies up here. Well, how are we going to integrate that into our minds, have a greater understanding, and create an action plan so we can move forward with more ease, grace, and a lot more positive expectant energy? And what I mean by that is moving forward with Saturn being in the mix. Anytime he's there in that trine, our path is more illuminated thanks to the North Node, but also how are we going to get down that path? And it's a long-term goal that we're reaching for when Saturn is in the mix. So we have our eye on the prize, and we also have a more strategic and structured way of getting there. Now, as we continue to move through the week, we're going to start moving into some higher states of consciousness, more mystical illumination, more insights coming, more psychic downloads, information and guidance from not only your higher self, but your team and spirit. There's a higher calling, and there is a greater understanding, and there's more unity that's coming. There's also dissolution or dissolving of the ego as the sun makes a sextile to Neptune. And it's important because this is activated by the moon's sextile to Neptune, which occurs exactly at the time of the new moon in Taurus. So during that new moon in Taurus, not only are you sitting in that very lazy, self-indulgent, but very relaxed Taurus energy, there's a sextile to Neptune, allowing you to escape a little bit, transcend the densities of the physical world and the physical body, and exist in a higher state of consciousness. Now, when the sun makes a sextile to Neptune, that gives us Pisces energy. Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and this is a time where we are a little bit more in tune with our experience and others. We are pulled into more of a dreamy state. Our dreams are very vivid. Our psychic downloads and abilities are heightened. This is also a time where you may feel more generous, more open, more relaxed, wanting to take it easy as you're not as concerned about what's happening down here on the ground in your physical body. The sun will also be making a conjunction to Lilith on the same day. Now, this is confusing energy. Okay, because Lilith is very different than Neptune energy. Her energy is more raw, more primal, and it has to do with a lot of subconscious, repressed and suppressed energies that want to come out, want to be seen, want to break you free of that. Like I said, Lilith is kind of like the love child of Mars, Pluto, and Uranus all together, with a little Venus, I would say, because she's very divine feminine, and she has a lot to do with that divine feminine energy accepting itself within all of us. The sun making a conjunction to Lilith is all about self-expression and you expressing your independence. You will be accepting and embodying more of your creative and destructive qualities. There's a shadow side to Lilith. So there's all about integrating those things. And when the sun is there, it illuminates those themes, brings it up to the conscious mind so you can embody it. Your ego can accept it and say, okay, that can become part of me. I am that now. I am strong. Lilith is very edgy, witchy, and daring energy. So I have those abilities, and there's a fearlessness that can come when the sun makes a conjunction to Lilith, because you're starting to feel like, yeah, I'm a little bad and a little mean and a little evil sometimes, and it's not a bad or negative thing. It doesn't have to be something that's wrong. We all have those sides to us, and integrating that is very powerful and can create more wholeness. And that's what that energy is all about. However, those sun transits, they only last for a couple days. We're really talking about here the fact that the sun is illuminating one planet, 1 point, two energies that the sun is illuminating, and those energies are communicating with each other as well. This energy is so important at this time because we have so much spiritual progress that's happening. Neptune, yes, is the planet of spirituality, you could say, but so is Jupiter. But Jupiter's more about your physical framework of that spirituality, your philosophies, the meaning you give to things, the outlook you have on your life, your religious viewpoints. Neptune, this is a much more ethereal and less tangible energy. It dissolves the barrier between the physical and non-physical reality and your ego and your higher self. So you're moving into more connection with all types of energies that are supporting you at this time. This week is a lot about you getting in contact with your team and spirit, your higher self, and your innate source wisdom, because you are an extension of source energy. You are a specific perspective of God energy, and this is helping you to embody more of that. Now, Neptune's conversation with Lilith, there's a sextile happening, so it is positive. Okay, and not that all of them aren't positive, but it's generally speaking easy flowing and offers nothing but benefits. This is an opportunity to explore spirituality and an increased connection to your higher self in more fearless and independent ways. There's witchy energy, like I said, with Lilith in the mix, and when these two come together, we're talking about expressing more of your primal abilities. And this is also magical energy. And this is a time where your darkness can be a way to connect and unify with others and their darkness, and to connect to something higher. That's that shadow work that I'm talking about. And Neptune and Lilith together, this is definitely giving me an increase in specific magical and manifestational abilities. You are creating more wholeness. You're dissolving the barrier between the light, the love and light aspect of you, okay? So some of you are like, good vibes only. I only want light. I'm a light being. I'm pure crystalline light. Oh. What the fuck ever. No, you're not. You are just as much darkness. The brightest lights cast the darkest shadows. Have you ever heard of that? Okay. If you're this tall in the light, you're that deep in the dark. Let's be real period about that. Okay. So for that to make sense to you, you have to embody that. So this week will help you embody some of that, because some of you are afraid of the dark, especially your own darkness, because your ego is still saying, well, that's not me. That's something my dad did, or that's something she did to me, or that's them out there. I'm not one of those people out there. For you to understand the levels to this, you may even have some resistance to your own darkness that you don't even know about yet, because again, with the Lilith energy, we are talking about subconscious energies. So these are things that you are not necessarily conscious of. So be mindful of that as we move through the rest of the year, because Neptune and Lilith are going to have this conversation for quite a bit of time. Now, on the same day that all this Neptune energy is at play, remember, Neptune rules Pisces. However, before we knew what Uranus, Neptune, Chiron, Pluto, before we knew about any of that, the furthest planet that we knew about and considered in astrology was Saturn. That was the furthest reaching planet out there. So every planet except for the sun and the moon had two ruling signs. Jupiter, we know Jupiter to be the ruler of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is definitely the explorer, the traveler. It is definitely ruled by Jupiter energy. But Pisces used to be, and still is, ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter is about to activate these Neptune energies by entering Neptune's ruling sign of Pisces, which he shares with Neptune, bringing these themes up for a sneak peek. Now, Jupiter will be in Pisces from May 13th until July 28th. Jupiter will go retrograde and re-enter Aquarius on July 28th, and will not exit Aquarius and enter Pisces again until December 28th. Jupiter usually takes about a year to go through each sign, so he takes about 12 years to get around the sun, but he also will dip his toe into the next sign, similarly to the way that other planets will do, just like Saturn did in 2020. When Saturn got to 0 degrees of Aquarius, entered Aquarius at the beginning, in the beginning months of 2020, I think it was March. Saturn left behind his ruling sign of Capricorn, entered his other ruling sign of Aquarius, which we now consider the ruler of Aquarius to be Uranus. Saturn enters Aquarius, and that's when you see all of the huge upheaval of all of these social justice issues, Black Lives Matter. That was a little taste of what was to come. And that is how powerful and potent it can be when a planet ingresses into the next sign, even if it does plan to come back out again and go retrograde and go back into the previous sign. That doesn't mean that it isn't excited to get into that energy, and it brings those energies up immediately. Now, when Jupiter enters Pisces, this is going to put kind of a stopper a little bit on this Aquarius energy that we have been talking about for so many months. 2021 is the year of Aquarius. We had the superstellium in Aquarius. Some are saying that this is the beginning of the age of Aquarius. Some would say that's mathematically incorrect. I say it is what it is. We create our own reality anyway. But with all this Aquarius energy here, and with Jupiter and Saturn forming their great conjunction on the winter equinox in 2020 on December 21st in the sign of Aquarius, you could say that it was calling or beckoning this age of Aquarius into existence, because these ages blend so much because they're drawn out over several thousands of years. So we have this blending happening right now, and I think they are bringing those Aquarius themes to the surface for us. So you could say, yes, we are in the age of Aquarius, the very beginning stages of that. Some would even say that the invention of the printing for press was truly the beginning of the age of Aquarius, because we were starting to reach humanity as a whole, and that was a form of technology. There's a lot of reasons for that. All of the scientific breakthroughs that we've experienced in the past couple hundred years, these are all examples of the dawning of the age of Aquarius. When Jupiter went into Capricorn and joined Saturn in his ruling sign, Saturn was truly the one in charge because he rules Capricorn. And so Jupiter's kind of been playing by the rules of Saturn. And those are some pretty hard, strict-ass rules. Now Jupiter's going to feel free. He's already gotten a taste of freedom being in Aquarius, but now he's going to go into his ruling sign of Pisces. This is going to change some shit up. I am so excited about this energy. As Jupiter moves into Pisces, our faith, our connection to the divine, our connection to our entire experience here, our optimism, our faith is restored and renewed. There's a renewing that can come from being in Pisces. So we have a lot to look forward to as we have an expansion of spirituality coming our way. You thought it's already expanded. It's about to get even bigger. You're about to become more connected. You're about to see more technology that specifically helps us become more spiritual, like these devices that help you meditate and it hooks up to your phone. There are even devices that are helping to read energy more so that you know which kind of spirits, energies, entities that you're dealing with. A lot of this stuff is going to become more mainstream as we move towards 2022. Now, Jupiter's not going to be in Pisces for very long, so we're going to get a taste of that energy, okay? So from May 13th through July 28th, that's going to be a time where there's an expansion or an increase in desire in the collective to learn more about spirituality as well. More classes, more books, more reading on topics, more documentaries being watched. We're going to have a thirst for this spiritual knowledge and this connection. We're going to want to have one-on-one connection with the higher self and God source energy so we can really use it to frame our perspective on life. And also having a much broader effect on our experience. Spirituality will start to reach more people within our communities and within our society. Jupiter is going to allow that information to travel out, and the entire world can become more unified every time Jupiter is in Pisces. I hope you are excited for this energy and you're ready to use this energy and not let it use you. If you are interested in booking a reading with me, of course, you can go to my website at christopherwithayMedium.com. If you're not already subscribed to me here on YouTube, you should like and subscribe below. Hit the bell so you can receive alerts when I post new content. If you're not following me on Instagram and TikTok, you absolutely should at the.astromedium. And of course, you can find me on Facebook as well. I am an Ascension and Awakening facilitator. I want to help you if you are experiencing a very difficult ascension and spiritual awakening process. I am an intuitive astrologer and a psychic medium. So whatever you need, I am here to help, and I am more than happy to point you in the right direction if I'm not the one that's right for you. So, thank you all so much again for joining me tonight for this cosmic forecast and energy update. I will see you all next week.